Can you hear me? Yeah, works? Awesome, perfect. So switching over here to my presentation. Good morning, everybody. In general, thirdweb is a full-stack development platform. So we have numerous integrations for builders on Avalanche L1s, from indexers to account abstraction to user auth. And one specific topic that I'm going to cover today is an all-in-one Web3 payment solution across Avalanche L1s, which we call thirdweb Universal Bridge. thirdweb Universal Bridge. thirdweb Universal Bridge is like one seamless payment solution combining on-ramping and bridging across the whole EVM world. You can use any token on any chain to get to any token that, for example, a transaction is being denominated in, or to simply top up your funds without having to leave the application as an end user. So you embed it into your app or game straight, and your users don't need to first head over to like a centralized exchange and then buy a token, go over to a bridge, to then finally arrive back at your application. And so the whole solution is really optimized for good conversion, low number of clicks, and at the end of the day, a great user experience. As said, we are combining on-ramping, off-ramping, bridging there. It's like all seamless for the end user when they are using it, as they are basically in your application, and they get the quotes at the time where they want to complete the transaction. So for any user in any of the more than 160 countries that we are supporting already today, there might be some differences, for example, in the route that is taken, or any kind of like difference on the on-ramping provider, but we're really dynamically finding the best dynamically found route for that given user at the given time. And for you as a developer, the great advantage is it is monetizable. So you can actually also earn a fee on all the crypto-to-crypto transactions. So if you want to use that as a revenue stream for your application, you can do so. If you decide that you do not want to do that and you actually want to make sure that it's as cheap for the end user as possible, you can just say, okay, you want to set it to 0, and you're not earning any fee on the swaps. Where we are today already with Universal Bridge, we have first launched a product almost a year ago that was like the result of an acquisition of the company Paper, and we relaunched the product newly now in March. We have more than 300 supported tokens. We are supporting more than 160 countries. We have more than 75,000 routes already enabled today, and every week we're adding a couple more thousand. And we are live on more than 70 chains today already. Two examples, if you're familiar with them, AppChain with their product ETH Cash. They basically have like, they're live on Base. They have already generated more than $1 million in volume within like the last 4 weeks. And Infinigods on the gaming side have generated more than $600,000 in volume on NFT sales. The core principles for Universal Bridge for us are, first of all, it's buys and sells. So an end user, they want to buy something or they want to sell something. We kind of like try to strip away as much of like the more Web3 native lingo as possible. So inputs and outputs, and also, for example, the concept of slippage, we have abstracted away. A user says, okay, I want to get 10 AVAX, and that's the output that they want to get. And then they get a quote for what they're going to pay, for example, in ETH or in US dollars. There is no fee, it's just an exchange. You kind of like, as a user, can look into what are the fees that are going to be charged to me. But if you think about like using just a normal payment rail, if you buy something online, yes, there is a fee that Stripe likely is charging you. But as an end user, you don't really look deeply into that, right? It's being charged, and it's kind of like being part of like the overall volume that you're going to pay, or maybe your merchant actually covers it for you. But you as an end user don't need to bother about it. And that's exactly what we wanted to achieve here as well. And there's infinite expandability. As said, we have more than 75,000 routes already available today. So if you, for example, want to deploy also on another EVM chain, or if you're already live on the C chain, and then you start also launching your own Avalanche L1, if you want to expand to that, it's really easy. You just have the same user flow. You just add this one route, for example, or this couple of routes in addition to it, as long as there is some liquidity that we can tap there. And so you don't need to integrate another solution completely from scratch again. I'll quickly show you a small demo now, how that would look for a user built in our own application. Let's say here, actually, let's switch over here. Let's say you want to buy, let's say 50 Beam on Beam. So basically, that's now kind of like the token I want to get on the chain I want to get. Yeah, I want to get 50 beam on beam. We're now seeing, okay, I already hold some beam on Avalanche C-chain. I tried it before because I recorded the demo as well. You could also do it with AVAX on C-chain, or either with USDC on Ethereum. That wouldn't really matter. Or if you don't have any token, you could say, okay, I actually just want to pay with another wallet or with a card. So I could, for example, use Stripe or Coinbase onramp or Transec, depending on where you're located in the world. Now we are fetching the price, so we are getting that on basically demand right now. And if I continue in the proof here, we're actually finalizing the transaction. That's on mainnet right now, so that's actually happening. You can head over to thirdweb.com/bridge if you want to try it out yourself later as well. And just be aware, these are mainnets, so these are real funds. If you move them, you're moving them. And we also have a playground that I'll show you later in a second where you can play around with it as well. So now this usually takes up a couple seconds, depending on the chain, depending on the routes. Here it says like it might take a couple minutes, which usually is faster to settle. But let me, in the meantime, go back to the presentation. How does it work? What I've just shown you, like what's happening under the hood actually. So first of all, we're finding the optimal path. So we have inputted a token, like a final token that we want to get out on a specific chain. And so we are finding, okay, what's the path that it needs to take? An example could be we are on-ramping with Stripe to Avalanche C-chain with AVAX. We're then swapping it over to the Beam token, and then we're finalizing the transaction with the bridge from C-chain to Beam. We're finding the best protocols based on the real metrics. Real metrics are especially the number, like the fees, and the transactions it will take for the transaction to settle. So we're optimizing for cost for the end user and speed of the transaction to complete. And we're aggregating multiple providers there. So as said, based on where you're based on, sometimes it might be that the best on-ramp provider might be maybe Coinbase on-ramp for you, or it might be Transec, or any of the others. Same with the bridging routes. We're then getting you the quote. We're returning you the quote, showing it in the UI as well, but you can also call it as a developer via an API if you just want to use it low level or under the hood. We perform a simulation to make sure that at the given quote, we can actually also have a successful transaction completion, and then return all of that to the user, finalizing it, and then the user has the tokens in their wallet. We don't kind of like force you to use our auth methods, so you don't need to use the thirdweb Connect SDK with thirdweb wallets. thirdweb Universal Bridge is fully compatible with any other type of wallet that you're using. You can use it with Core Wallet, you can use it and call it via VM, Ethers.js, all is available. If you want to have a very easy going developer experience, we recommend using thirdweb Connect SDK to start with, and then you basically take a couple of lines of code to integrate. How to integrate into your apps? There are three main ways. I'm starting from the very right side here, which are our ready-made components. So we have drop-in components on React Native for mobile native applications. We have a React SDK for games. We have a Unity and an Unreal SDK as well. You can use a TypeScript SDK and use it headless. And you can also, at the end of the day, use our APIs. So you can call it from your backend. You can call it low-level, whatever you prefer. So we have the full depth of integration for you available. As said, the easiest way, if you especially want to build out a POC or going to get started with, we highly recommend using the components that are readily available. There are three main user flows that we have built out Universal Bridge to be used with. And there again, quickly switching over to my browser. In the meantime, we can see that the transaction actually completed. So that was a real demo. The three core flows are, first of all, buy with crypto. Buying means you just top up your wallet. So you buy some funds, you want your user to let them buy whatever funds they want to hold in their wallet, and then they can do with it whatever they do, right? Like maybe it's like a perp trading platform, or they're going to use it for buying some other assets. And really, as said, like with our ready-made components, this is our React SDK. We have a pay embed component. You just drop it in. You set it to mode fund the wallet. You get funds. You can define the chain. You can define the kind of like default amount. Of course, the user can override it, and you're already ready to go. So that's very straightforward, a pure buying funds flow. The second one is an e-commerce flow, which we call direct payment. In that case, you would get a webhook that you can feed, for example, into Shopify or any other logistics and e-commerce integration. We have an integration with Shopify, but for any others, you can, of course, build it out. In that case, you would buy the hoodie that is denominated in USDC, and you define the seller address, so the address of you as the seller where you should receive the tokens. The user does not need to hold USDC in the wallet. So they can just kind of like, they could literally have AVAX in the wallet and could buy the hoodie on base in USDC. And again, as shown before, we would find the best route where we would basically swap the AVAX to USDC and then bridge it over to base. And then we complete the full transaction, transfer the funds to the seller address, give you the webhook, and the hoodie is being shipped. Again, all of that also would work among the Avalanche L1s. So if someone holds some funds on a C chain and wants to buy something in guns because you want to send some merch off the grid, then you could do that too. And the third flow is a transaction flow. So let me quickly sign in here actually to show you how that flow would work. That, by the way, is our embedded wallet. So this is a non-custodial wallet with social login. In that case, we would batch the transactions together to let the user directly buy an NFT. So for you to minimize the number of necessary steps that the user needs to take, instead of first having them to top up the wallet and then having to actually enter into the transaction, unfortunately it doesn't load, but you could batch it all together. You would basically set the mode to transaction and you concatenate it with a specific transaction. In that case, it would be claim 2, but it can be any type of transaction from a smart contract. So this can be a staking transaction, this can be a claiming transaction, this can be a minting transaction, wouldn't matter. So you just specify the contract, the parameters that the function would take, and then you would be ready to send. So in that case, again, this is our playground here, I would be able to choose the payment method, and I, for example, could pay with my credit card, and that would be the only step I need to complete, is like what I've shown you before, is like going through the 3 steps, saying I want to confirm the payment, and I don't need to re-sign the minting of the transaction again. So the whole transactions are getting batched together. It's one signature for the end user, and the full flow will be finalized. As said in the beginning, I'm head of ecosystem. I'm Gary. You can connect with me over Telegram. We are able to spin up integration for any Avalanche L1 within usually 3 days. That's kind of like the rough timeline that we give. We are really able to tap the full Avalanche ecosystem there through the setup how Avalanche in general works when it comes to like liquidity interoperability. We're more than happy to answer any questions, more than happy to also grab a coffee outside. And that's it from my side right now. We have a little more than 4 minutes left, so I want to also open it up to any questions that you might have.
Questions?
Is there any slippage management? How do you handle the slippage?
Yes. So we abstract the slippage away, which means of course, there's slippage under the hood taking place, but we already have like basically the buffer to make sure that the user gets whatever the user wants to buy. So I, for example, shown you like the 50 beam, right? The user will get the 50 beam. So that's what we are taking care of. And we are basically having kind of a small margin for the slippage that goes into the quote already, so that the user for sure will get the amount. And so the price maybe is then like a little higher on like the sending chain, for example, to ensure that the slippage is not going to impact the end user. So we're basically abstracting it away. This is similar to if you buy something in US dollars, but you have an account in British pounds, there likely is some slippage too when you actually buy, right? But like your credit card company takes care of that. You're already kind of like accounted for that. And that's exactly what we did as well. So basically, it's built in a way that the user gets the amount that the user wants to get for. It is not possible to be less than that. It's simply that we kind of like charge a little bit higher to ensure that the slippage will go through.
Hi, I'm not sure if you covered this, but could you shed a bit of light on like Nebula and all the AI work that you guys are?
Happy to do so too. So as said in the beginning, we have like a full set, a unified framework for building Web3 applications and games and supporting chains, also app chains. And one of those new features that we have rolled out earlier this year is Nebula, which is a proprietary blockchain LLM, which we have trained on EVM data as well as the full tooling suite that we have today. So if you go to nebula.thirdweb.com, you can try that out, where we have built the basically end-user facing application with a chat interface. And Nebula, in general, is trained on all the features that we have built already, so also on the swapping part. So if there is a route available, similar to how I have shown you in the UI, you can also ask Nebula in a natural language prompt to swap tokens from one chain to the other. And of course, our end goal at the end of the day is actually to enable builders like you to build agent and the agent economy with it. And so you're able to call it via APIs. We have integrations with the Python SDK to, for example, OpenAI as well as others. And we already have very cool teams actually building with it. One, if you want to check it out, is Fungi, it's like the mushroom, like fungi.ai. They've built a DeFi tool integrating Nebula, as well as like our toolkit, also Universal Bridge, by the way. So it's ready to be used. It's rolled out for public access, and you can start building with it already today, or on the weekend with the hackathon.
Nice. What is your business model? How do you make money?
So there are like multiple components to it. On the Universal Bridge side, we charge a 0.3% fee on the crypto swaps. So if someone is swapping $100 worth of crypto from A to B, we charge 30 cents on that. And that's how we basically monetize Universal Bridge. We also have an account abstraction kit where, similar to other providers, we're charging a fee on the paymaster. And then, as you've quickly seen, kind of the wallet auth infrastructure, there again, similar to competition, we are charging on the number of unique monthly active wallets, a small cent element.